IT Nation, Sean Lardo here with another installment of the Wise Up podcast with my handy dandy co-host, Matt Topper. Matt, how are you today, sir?
Handy dandy co-host. Is this like the Blues Clues edition of IT Nation Wise Up?
Well, considering today's guest, I feel like he wears a lot of costumes, so I feel like it's fitting. I feel like he's still within his, youth somehow, some way.
That's a really good segue. I like that.
Right? That was, and it's spot on. And it wasn't even planned. But although, for those that are going to be listening to this and watching this, know that Wise Up podcast is really about bringing people from in and outside the space to share stories on how to find success on different various things, whether it be professional or personal. There's no topic that's left off the table with it. We're here to learn from them, share their story, whatever it may be. And you guys that are watching and listening should hopefully garner some level of education from this and find some sort of golden nuggets of some sort.
We're here to provide value. This is not the biography channel.
No, but it could be like Drunk History would be awesome. But that's going to be like Wise Up at Night podcast. Would it be Wise Up?
Wise Up After Dark.
Yeah, Wise Up After Dark. Exactly. So Matt and I both come from a good background. We talk about a lot of cool things. We try to dig into things so everybody understands what's being said. And again, hopefully you garner some sort of education from this. With that being said, though, we might as well get into our guest because we did start to segue into him. As usual, I'll allow you to introduce our guest since he's your boy.
Yeah, so you may have seen our guest at several events if you've been to industry conferences. He may have been in costume at the time. You may not recognize him outside of the costume. Want to bring in our very special guest today, Johnathan Schofield. What's up, John?
Hey, guys.
Did you see his way he was sitting when he started? Like he was leaned back, like dope.
He sat up.
He was like, let me make my entrance.
That's how you know it's an intense interview now. This is serious.
Locked in. And hearing you guys kind of roll into my introduction, I wasn't sure if I should go get a bottle of bourbon or some floppy Blues Clues ears to be on camera with, but
both maybe.
Yeah, she was like, why can't you do both? Seriously. So Johnathan, we always like to get started with where are you located out of right now, man?
I'm in Greenville, South Carolina. That is where I am. And today,
emphasis on the South part for anyone who may be confused with Greenville, North Carolina.
Oh, yes. Well, there's a Greenville literally in every state of the union. But this is the best one.
And I don't think it's emphasis on it, Matt. I think that's called a Southern drawl.
I didn't say y'all. I'm a Midwestern boy at heart, although I've lived here 15 years, so I guess I can't say I'm not Southern in that sense.
You can say it. I've lived here for a long time. I don't associate myself with upstate New York yet.
Because you don't live in upstate. We're not even going into this. We're not even going into this, Matt, at all. Don't. Last time Matt did this on purpose, we were on this recording for like 20 minutes debating about what's considered upstate, west state, east state, south state, whatever. So we're not going to.
That was a quality episode.
No, they're all quality episodes, Matt. So, all right. So let's get back to our guest, Matt, before we go completely off topic again. Matt is so needy, Johnathan, just so you know. He always does this. It's embarrassing. So I apologize for wasting your time as a guest. Let's talk more about you, Johnathan. So are you from there originally?
No, I moved here 15 years ago to study theater of all things. And I know you're all shocked to hear that, considering how some of you know me.
It's so fitting.
Yeah.
So what made you move over there other than theater? Anything else?
That was primarily it. On the other side of my undergraduate degree, I had a professor who recommended that I study theater here in the Southeast. And so I got married very young, moved to Greenville, worked for a year, started grad school, studied theater, and through all of my collegiate career and my graduate career, I was always in some kind of technology sales capacity. That's how I paid my way through school. And then on the other side of grad school, you all will be shocked to discover this, but a career in theater is very difficult and not very lucrative. So
Hmm.
On the other side of grad school is how I found myself in the B2B software space, which one domino hit the next. And I found myself in the channel shortly thereafter that and have not looked back since.
So wait, so how did you get into B2B software from theater? Let's dig into that. That's
Good
not a
question.
natural jump.
Okay. All right. You asked, so we're going to do this.
We asked.
So I told you I'm not originally from South Carolina. I grew up in kind of rural Minnesota. And when I was 15 years old and looking for my first job, you had limited options. You could be a paper boy, which I did briefly. You could stock yogurts at the local grocery store, or you could drive 7 miles to the county seat where there was this terrible little strip mall. And in the strip mall, there was this little office center. Doesn't exist anymore, but it was called Market Link Incorporated. And it was basically a cold calling farm, right? So I was 15 when I got my first job there. I got paid $7 an hour and 50 cents commission to sit in this crappy little gray walled cubicle with lines of other agents on either side. And we had contracts with Comcast, with DirecTV, with Dish Network, with Charter. And I was that annoying asshole calling you at, 5:30 at dinner time, trying to sell you on the triple play bundle. So that's where my first technology sales role started. I was a teenager. Well, the first DVR I sold, I didn't even know what a DVR was.
So you're selling to end users,
Yeah.
and then you got into the channel where you don't sell to end users.
Right. So on the other side of grad school, when I was trying to start my fledgling theater career, and I had a young family to support, I found myself responding to a staffing agency that was looking for a business development rep for a software company that integrated with ERP systems. And
It's coming together.
yeah, so as for the next 4 years, I found myself getting an incredible crash course on not just business, but business development, sales development, working with channel partners because we worked with ERP resellers, whether it be Sage, Dynamics, AX, Acumatica, NetSuite, insert say ERP partner. Of course, they were all called different things back then too. But that was kind of my first exposure to the idea of a reseller channel. But I still didn't know what an MSP was. I didn't know that until actually, I guess you could say recent history during the apocalypse 2020. The company I was working for at the time got hit square in the teeth really hard, like so many did. They let me and 8 other people go. So I started a business. Like, why not? And that's when, as you see on my hat here, this is the OG legal entity that owns all the cool stuff that I do, Dark Horse Business Systems. But I started this in 2020, April of 2020, and my first client of significance was an engineer who used to work at an MSP, who quit his job and wrote a piece of cybersecurity software for privileged account management. Shout out Martin, Tech ID Manager. You guys are awesome. When he and I sat down over coffee, he's like, "I've got this piece of software. I know MSPs need it. I don't really have an interest in sales. Can you help me get my product in front of more MSPs?" And I said, "I don't know. Quick question. What's an MSP?" And he laughed, and I laughed, and I said, "No, but seriously." So that's how I
It's
found
such
my
a good
way.
joke. Ha ha. Everybody knows what an MSP is.
Yeah. So, and then along the way, I found myself not only working with Martin and his team, building their program for MSPs, and I'm very proud of what I've been able to help those guys do over the years. But I would work with a couple other vendors in the space, some of which you would probably know if I mentioned their names. And but now I work exclusively for myself and my own venture, and just absolutely loving it.
So I'm guessing some of our viewers, listeners might know you more for some of the outfits and the costumes at events. How did you get started doing that stuff?
Okay, so this is where it really began. The cloud services company that I ran their entire partner recruitment division for, They actually sponsored IT Nation Secure. And this, I don't remember what year it was. I think it was the first one after the pandemic. Um, and they had already signed the contract and agreed to go to IT Nation Secure. I had never been to an IT Nation Secure, but the marketing department approached me and they said, "Hey, Johnathan, we spent $5,000 on the bag drop." I'm like, "What the hell is that?" They're like, "Well, we can put whatever we want. We can put whatever we want in the bag that they get when they sign up and they, get their badge." I'm like, "Okay." Like, "Well, we don't know what to do with it. Do you have any ideas?" I was like, "Okay." I was like, "We spent this money for this." And I questioned whether that was a good idea or not, but it had already been done. So I was like, "All right, well, how can we get the most value out of this?" And this is where this idea came from. It's actually literally right here on my wall, because it's how proud of it I am, because it works so freaking good. And lessons learned, but this one says, "Where's Waldo? He'll be hanging out in this hotel. So find Waldo and hand him this for a chance to win an Oculus Quest 2 and other awesome prizes." So everybody who signed into IT Nation Secure years ago, they got one of these. And of course, it's a 3.5-inch floppy disk. Most folks haven't seen these in years. So it was a conversation piece, kind of a novelty. Everyone was like, "What's on here?" It's like, it's your complimentary ransomware. So enjoy it. It led to some really fun conversations, but I'm 6'2", right? And so I dressed as Waldo. It's the easiest game of Waldo that you could imagine. So I helped that particular cloud services company through that mechanism. We generated over 300 leads almost effortlessly doing that. I would position myself, when a keynote would happen, I would, knew where the high traffic areas would be. I would just wander around and people from across the room would be like, "Waldo," and they'd walk up and give me the card. And I mean, it was just really, really effective. And so that led me to kind of establish this philosophy of business development that's all kind of hinged around the idea of authentic, physical, human connection as a way to earn mind share. So have some fun, and you might get someone's attention.
Have some fun and get attention. And that's actually a great segue to, you know, I guess it's a blessing and a curse for you being in theater because you can do
Yeah.
so much, right? And it's easy to go overboard in this industry because some people are IT guys and women are typically more reserved and introverted. So they're not so even though they like gimmicky stuff. So, you worked with other companies and you brought gimmicky things. How well received was it? And how did you convince them to do things? Because it's not every day. It's like I think right away of Robin Hood Men in Tights, right? And
Yeah.
obviously it took a very famous person to make that movie, right?
Yes. Oh my goodness. I love that movie so
With
much.
credibility, which you're new in the game at that point. So how did you convince them to do anything?
Well, what was interesting, if you've ever been on the vendor side and you've sponsored any of the shows of significance, it can be frustrating. It can be frustrating when you shell out, not a small amount of cash to get in the room with some really big dogs and a lot of perhaps your competitors, and we're all after the same ideal customer, the ideal partner, right? We all want the attention. And what I learned, because IT Nation Secure was not my first channel event, that was one where I kind of had more rope with which to hang myself, so to speak. So, what I observed in other channel events is like, man, if I walk up and down the exhibitor hall, I see the same color schemes for a lot of the booths, right? I see a lot of the same prizes being given away. And I even see a lot of almost identical verbiage in the messaging, like we stop the bad guys and we make you money and we do and we're awesome and here's why you should care. But when you're walking through an echo chamber of everybody saying the same thing and looking the same way, we're all risking so much to get an ROI off of this event. I was just like, man, how can I brute force the attention I need to get traction? Like they don't know us yet. So how do we be known? Well, the first thing that you have to be known is the attention span of your prospect. So you made a comment earlier, Sean, about like, well, there's that kind of stereotype that folks in our industry are maybe more introverted or or
Mhm.
or a certain kind of way
Well,
that maybe.
they're less likely to put themselves out there because they are introvert. I mean, we'll
Sure.
use Matt. Matt is a prime example. Matt is an introvert extrovert. Am I correct, Matt, by saying that?
I'm the classic introvert, right? Need recharge time after socializing.
You know
Would you
what's
wear
funny?
a costume, Matt?
Hmm?
Would you wear a costume in public?
No, and that was going to be one of my questions to you guys, right? Like, if I started a company, this would be so unnatural for me. So, how do you find the right thing for you based on your persona, right? I could not go out in a Waldo costume. It might look interesting, but it wouldn't be effective because I wouldn't pull it off the same way that you would, Jonathan.
You know what? You know what's interesting about this conversation is that I consider myself highly introverted as well, and a lot of people like push back on that. There's no way that can be true. You're in sales, you have a background in theater. Everything that you do to spend your time has interactions with other people at the center of it. It's like, well, first of all, like, you see me when I'm turned, when I'm on, right, and when I am working, right. That's when you see me. And I absolutely get myself into a mindset where I know I'm here to work. And yeah, I might look crazy or ridiculous or fun. It's like it's absolutely a choice that's been made. And that choice costs me something as an introvert. I've learned the value of making that choice, that projecting confidence will teach you to actually have confidence. And being able to be vulnerable earns you credibility with those around you. It's like you're like, yeah, I don't know that I would be willing to dress up. And it's like, you don't have to dress up to project confidence and be vulnerable. I chose in those very specific scenarios where I knew the room was full of my competitors that I wanted to be the one that got the first 30 seconds of talk time, because I knew if I could get 30 seconds, I could get an extra 60 seconds. And if I could get 60 seconds, I could probably get at least their contact information. And if I can get 2 minutes with them, I'll definitely get a meeting. You know what I'm saying? Right. So, like,
So what you're saying is the charm's turned on,
yes, absolutely.
and then that turns on the
Yeah.
magic.
Yes. Absolutely, Sean.
Perfect. Take note,
I
everybody.
mean,
Take note.
good point though, right? So those of us who are introverted, that doesn't mean you don't like socializing or you're shy or social anxiety. It means that you get exhausted from socializing. And I don't know about you guys, at the end of an event, I'm like staring at the ceiling in the hotel room, but I
Oh,
can network during the event.
when I come back from a 3-day event, I fall on my face onto my couch and I don't want to talk to anyone for the next 48 hours. Usually I end up having to, but that's like I try to protect at least some time post event to come down from that and to isolate a little bit and recharge. It's very
Yeah.
important. But I want to make a comment here. Like, what I hope, if you're an MSP and you're watching this, right, what I hope you're not hearing is I have to like do something crazy and outlandish and ridiculous to be effective or successful. Like, man, that's those things have been really effective for me to get the attention, but that's just the first part. Earning mindshare with your customer really comes down to authentic physical human connection. So, man, if I can dress like an idiot and that gives me the first 30 seconds, awesome, I'll do it. But you don't necessarily have to do that. What I do want you to hear is authentic physical human connection. I am a little tired of hearing IT providers say, I'm not a salesperson, I suck at sales, or I don't have the personality for it. Like, I'm living proof that introverts can be highly effective salespeople and highly effective entrepreneurs. If you subscribe to that kind of stereotype that I am a technologist first, a business person second, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure. You don't have to overthink this. Go out and be you. And if you don't know how to do that, it first requires you, to step outside your comfort zone, put yourself in scenarios where you are on display to some degree. And you don't have to put on a costume to be on display. You just have to be where your prospects are, be where your customers are, is the first step. So like what I don't want people to hear is like, man, I am not cut out for the stuff that Jonathan's doing. It's like, no, if you saw all the other things that we do to run our sales organization, it looks very similar to most people's sales organizations that are doing something with some fraction of structure. And there's a method to everything that we do. So if you have an appreciation for process and you are willing to be you, you can crush it in sales.
So would it be accurate for you, the costumes and the theatrical things, they're really a vehicle to start an initial conversation with someone, right? And then you can go into whatever you want to talk about. But for somebody else, that might be speaking at a community event or going to a chamber meeting or anything, right? Anything that gets you out there.
I mean, in the specific use case that where like I think Matt, you and I even met when I was dressed as Waldo. I can't recall.
Well, actually, that's a good story. We met because I commented on your like doing push-ups thing, and we went and started doing push-ups at the event.
That's right. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I'd forgotten that. Good
push-up thing.
Yes. So was that when I was like doing like accountability on LinkedIn? I was trying.
Yeah, that was the first. We had actually never met in person, and I responded to that post.
And then we
should share that story though, so that it's not just us having an inside joke conversation.
Yeah. So basically, I kind of put myself through the ringer a couple of years ago, and I wanted to get to a place where I was doing 100 push-ups in a row. And so I had a goal, and I was doing X number of push-ups every day. And then I would occasionally update. I tried to once a week or something, give an update on where my push-ups were at. And I had several people that were very enthusiastic and supportive of that initiative, and Matt was absolutely one of them. And he even jumped on the bandwagon and was like, I'm doing this too. And it was pretty cool. And we had several folks that were kind of doing that along with us together. So it was like a little mini health movement, which was cool. And I think it was at IT Nation Connect that when you and I, we found each other and we did push-ups live from IT Nation.
There's a video somewhere.
Somewhere there is.
Such an overachiever. You're such overachievers doing push-ups at an event, and then Matt probably went and ran 7 miles the next morning too to show off even more.
Probably did.
Oh, you're a runner too, Johnathan?
Yeah, John's a runner too.
I am becoming one. I cannot say that I run like Matt does, but I do.
I figure if I see you run, I'm looking at what you're running from, and then I'll run. Like you're running from something. Or you're running to something really cool like an ice cream truck or something like that, and then I'm in. There's no reason for that running. And it's funny because, Matt and Brad Powell be like, hey, we're going to do the run thing. You come, and you already know the answer is no. So why do you keep asking me? I'm not running.
That's true. We do ask you every event.
Every event. Brad does too.
As if we're expecting a different answer.
Brad was like, hey, you coming to CCF? We're going to run. I was like, what? No, I won't be there. But even if I was, why are you talking about running again? I'm getting tired talking about it. I'm already starting to sweat right now from the run that I didn't do.
I may have slightly masochistic tendencies, right?
Everybody here does.
What other kind of introvert would volunteer to put themselves in a spotlight where they are forced to have major conversations with people? Similarly with running, I'm not like Matt and Brad. I cannot say with confidence that I love it. I am growing to appreciate it. I've seen tremendous benefits from doing it. It's enough for me to
realize as you were saying, I just looked at my face as you were saying that. I looked like I was in pain because I was listening to you talk about forcing yourself to run. That's just
painful. It is painful for me right now.
I'll tell you what, though, you've gotten a lot faster over the past year or so.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean,
he's talking about me. I'm a lot faster to say no. Not running.
So great.
It's true. There are two meanings to that, and I think both are accurate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I believe in consistency.
In fact, Sean, these days, Sean messages me before the event, just say, "Hey, by the way, I'm not running at the 5K.
Just gonna get ahead of this now." No.
Actually, what I've done is I've already set the email and the Teams messages in advance. It's already on a timer to come out automatically with the same comment each. It's the same. It's literally the same every time.
Love it.
It's pretty easy to say no and put a GIF with it, and we're done.
Well, Sean, you always look so good, right? So if you're not running, what the heck are you doing?
It's the hair.
I mean, it is, but it's not just the hair.
Oh, well, you know what? So I was in the Army for 9 years and I ran a lot then. And that's why I don't run anymore because it's stupid. Period. So I know I still actively work out because I'm gonna be 49 this year, man. I gotta like
God damn.
right? Telling you, my knee when I said 49, my knees just made noises and cried. Yeah, no, I stay active. I work out, but I can't understand how you can just for like 20, 30 minutes. I don't get this. Like that makes my head hurt. And then being on a treadmill is even worse. I see people on treadmills and elliptical machines for like an hour. I'm like,
No argument there.
How do you have the endurance, like attention span wise, not even physical, but just attention span to do that?
Right?
So
The treadmill.
my secret power, not secret power, the way that I deal with the treadmill is I have guilty pleasure Netflix shows that I'll put on. And, it's a 30-minute episode and you can run pretty far in 30 minutes.
So you turn on the Netflix show.
Yes.
Okay, good. So yeah.
Absolutely.
So let's bring this back to sales for a second, right? Say you're an MSP, new vendor, and you've decided, okay, maybe the costume's not for me. How do you find what does make sense for you, right? How do you find that thing that's comfortable and going to work for you? Because I'm guessing it's not just follow somebody's playbook, right? It's find the thing you're comfortable with.
Okay, well, I want to be clear. Sales is not comfortable. I mean, you can get to a point, it's just like running, right? You get to a point where you've done it enough and it's muscle memory and you've got the skills, you've got the process, and you can execute without like in your sleep, right? Like Matt, if you put your tennis shoes on right now and decided to go for a run because you do it so habitually and so routinely, and it's such a major part of your life, your body would instantly take over and be like, all right, we're doing this again. I'm used to this. I know what this is. So, then you just do it. But until you get to that point, if like you said, a young MSP or a new vendor on the space, it is uncomfortable, especially if you're a technologist first and learning to be a business owner, learning to be an entrepreneur, learning to sell. It will not be comfortable. So you just need to get past that right now, right? Like, so the better part of your question, you said what works. Okay, that is a different question. Like what's comfortable? None of it's comfortable. That's the tough love from Johnathan. Get off your ass.
That's a good point.
Yeah. But what works is a different question altogether, right? For me, there's not many things I do in the gym that I consider comfortable. There are some things that I could do in the gym that are a complete waste of time, that are uncomfortable. And there are other things that are uncomfortable in the gym that I can do that actually give tremendous benefit. And if I find what works, that's what's key. Now, the first step, and this is going to sound like a broken record because what I'm about to say is not something that hasn't been said by experts and professionals and sales leaders for years. It's like, yeah, figure out who the heck is your customer first. And that might seem obvious. And if you're tired of hearing that, I'm sorry. But if I hear another MSP say, and when I ask them, who's your ideal customer? And the answer I hear back is small businesses, I'm going to reach through the Teams meeting and slap them across the face because that is not your ideal customer. Like, I mean, that's like going into the Atlantic Ocean and dropping a fishing line over the side of a canoe and being utterly shocked when you can't catch a fish. It's like, well, what kind of fish are you trying to catch? Are you sure they're even in the Atlantic Ocean? If they are in the Atlantic Ocean, what bay or harbor or under what conditions do they strike and what bait do they strike? It's like, you got to really have a laser focus on who your customer is, an ideal customer. So that's number one. Number two, where thy prospect is, there thou shalt also be. That's what works. And that's why, like, well, are you at their events? Are you in their office? Are you on their voice machine, their voicemail? Are you? I heard.
When did we get our mother on this call?
I heard my age come out of that as I said it.
Your age? You're not even at that age to say that. Voice machine. That fandango thing you got there, that people come through.
I am at that age, by the way, Sean. I just look really great. You see that rotary phone? I literally grew up in where the church office that I grew up in, where my dad was assistant pastor. Not that phone specifically, but there literally was a functioning rotary phone on the wall, and people used it.
Yeah,
So,
I mean that exists. Yeah, but that doesn't make you from the '60s.
no, it
So
doesn't.
it's not the
It doesn't.
same thing.
But voice machines were in the 80s and 90s still.
Nobody
Yes.
ever used voice machine other
Yes.
than people who didn't know
Yeah,
what it
I've
was.
never heard the term voice
Nobody's
machine.
ever used voice machine except for really old people that didn't know what to say at that time.
Well,
Because we called it an answering machine, and yeah,
all right. Okay. If you're watching this podcast back later, I need someone to back me up. You called your answering machine a voice machine too, right? That's not just me.
so if there's
Well,
Have
maybe
my
it's a
back
regional
here.
thing. Like Sean
if
and I are both Northeast people. Maybe it's an answering machine to us.
no, if there's any 110-year-olds listening to this, please support Johnathan.
The point still
I gotta say,
stands.
I've never heard voice machine.
If your ideal prospect has a voice machine, you should be on it.
It's next to my time machine.
You should be there
If they have a
too.
time machine, you should be using that too.
Be in their time machine. Yeah.
Oh
You know,
God.
to bring it back, Matt. Yeah, like that's what works. Figure out who your customer is, where your customer is, and where they are. There, thou shalt also be.
Well, and I want to come back to the other important thing is, you something for my employees that ever work with me, when I develop them, first thing I tell them is you can't have progress without discomfort. So that comes back to your point of being in the gym or running or just and even going further back in the conversation when you said about if you're saying you're an IT person only, like a technology person, you're missing the business side of it because there is a transformation that must occur from
Yeah.
a tech company to a sales company because the tech is not the driver. The tech is the backbone of what you're doing. The driver is the sales if you don't take that mentality. So full circle when you think about this, you can be comfortable with sales
Sure.
as long as you believe in what you're doing is helping people.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, the only thing I ever see MSPs being uncomfortable with is their pricing and packaging. That's usually the biggest problem they have because to them, and I get it, it's so easy to do what they do to them.
Right.
They don't realize the value provides for somebody like me that's busy doing my other stuff that you find difficult to do also. So it's like, and that's usually where the problem lies is when it comes time to say this is how much it's going to cost.
I'm just imagining like some of those newer salespeople, or when like an engineer starts doing sales and they like nervously slide the paper over with a number on it, like they're afraid to mention the price.
Yeah.
I mean, and how many times do you experience that, right? That you see this, it happens all the time. So again, you believe in the value you provide and know you're going to deliver a quality, we'll say solution. I don't care if it's a physical or an intangible product. If it's a service or whatever, it has to be quality.
That's right.
In your mind for you to preach it. Because I think that they turn sales into a negative connotation. That's why you always hear the used car salesman joke. What makes used car salesmen so bad anymore? Everything's so public and so transparent now. You can no longer say that.
That's right.
Like the price is the price is the price. And here's the whole history of
Yeah.
the Carfax report. And here's you can't get away with anything anymore. So we need to stop using that as a negative connotation because that's long gone.
I mean, to tie it back to health and wellness, right? If you are in, and I'm all right, how politically correct do I want to be? If you are unhealthy, right, and you aspire to be healthy, okay, right? Everybody wants the benefits of health. No one is going to tell you they want to be sick, they want to be overweight, everybody wishes that they ate better and were made healthy choices. Not a single person is like, yeah, I wish that my life was less good in this area. Similar to sales, nobody is going to say, I really wish that I was worse at sales. I really wish, I'm okay with not growing my business, right? No entrepreneur or business owner says those things. They all want the benefits of health and wellness. And the scapegoat that a lot of people pass on is they build up this cliche that they can well, I don't want to be that. They make this straw man and they say, that's gross, that's icky. So that's my excuse for not doing the stuff, because the stuff could make me be that, and I'm not that. It's like, well, you need to completely eliminate that from your mind altogether. And what you really have is an existential challenge, not really a business challenge. You need to change your mindset about what it is you're even trying to build and why it's even important to you. Because if it is valuable, as you said earlier, Sean, if you can have confidence in the outcomes you provide to your customers, it does not matter what the number is on the bottom of that page, Matt. It honestly makes no difference what that number is.
Yeah.
The outcome will match. I literally, this week, I kind of coined ouch versus if. Ouch as in business pain, if equaling business opportunity. If your value maps to the ouch of your customer or the if of your customer, the number is secondary to the outcome. And how you position that value mapped to their pain or opportunity, like, you could charge whatever the heck you wanted, so long as you have positioned yourself to be the answer for those two things. And if you have self-doubt, if you question the value you provide, if you oversimplify it and devalue it to it's all about the bits and bytes and the line items in my proposal, it will always become a race to the bottom. And a race to the bottom is a race that everybody loses. You lose, your customer loses, their employees, your employees, everybody loses that race. Everybody loses it every time. Even if you win the business, and especially if you win the business, you lose that race.
So what you're saying is you need to turn on your sales cap and get to work and know that you have value, and turn off from being just a tech provider in the back end, not really establishing any kind of awareness, any kind of value add, any kind of anything.
You need to start doing stuff, right? Stop making.
Well, you got to turn on the intent to do so, right?
Yeah.
Everything is with intent.
100%. Well, more than intent, it's execution. There's good intentions will get you nowhere, right? Everybody intends to grow the business, but like, get off your ass.
Right. Well, that's the thing. It's, again, like, I believe in talking about intent as you have to do something with the intent. You have to know what the intention is. You can know how many business owners just linger in their business as is. They have no intention of anything else yet. They're just, this is what we are. We're not going to try, but you started it with an intention of being something. Like, what's the most common reasons why you become an entrepreneur? Because you want freedom and flexibility. You want more pay. You want to create an impact. Those are like the main, probably the 3 or 4 things that you can think of right off the top of your head, right? Mm-hmm. So you had intent to do these things. That's why you did that. And then you get there, and then you just stay stagnant, complacent.
You only have 24 hours in a day, and in your work day, you have far fewer than you might think you have. And where you choose to spend those precious minutes will tell me everything I need to know about your intent. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's hard for an IT provider, especially the small one where it's founder-led growth, and he or she is wearing way more hats than they probably should. It's easy to like get yourself wrapped up in customer tickets, support requests, escalations, onboardings, offboardings, and it's so easy to fill those precious hours in the day with everything but the thing that's going to drive that intent. So I always this is kind of the practical full circle for what your question was, Matt. My suggestion to any entrepreneur, business owner, anyone who's trying to figure out sales is mark off dedicated time in your calendar for business development and treat it as sacred. And you must treat it as sacred. And what I mean by that is customer requests can't come over that time. Other like employee stuff can't come over that time. Taxes and back office stuff can't come over that time. You need to block it off and do the work. That's like 101 though.
Mm-hmm. So you almost preemptively answered what we usually do for the last question. So I hope you have another answer ready to go.
Hold on. You know what we
go ahead, John.
One thing we didn't ask about, because we're the first to hear about it, is there's a new brand launch that took place.
Yes.
You got like 10 we don't ever pitch on this, but you can say what your brand is because you're about to launch your new brand. Go.
All right. So the platform is called Skofi. And if you go to findmyitpartner.com, you can learn all about it. But basically, it's a cyber matchmaking platform to connect small to medium-sized businesses to IT service providers for IT, cybersecurity, and compliance. And I could say so much more about this, but this is being recorded before we've launched. And so I'm going to keep some things close to the vest. You're probably watching this after we've launched. So go to findmyitpartner.com to learn more.
Nice.
Awesome.
All right, I'm sorry, Matt. I had to get out because we promised we would do that.
We did. And actually, it was nice to have a break in the conversation because it was a very similar question to the answer just given. So thank you, Sean, for both of those.
You know what? I'll be here all day.
So, John, we're almost out of time, and we always end the show with one specific question, and that is if you could give our audience, viewers, listeners, one habit to improve their business, and in this case, really, it's to improve their sales process and their growth. What would that be? A habit to either start or to stop? And I know you just gave one, so hopefully you have a second one ready.
I do have a second one. If you're anything like me and you get obsessive about the work that you do and what you're trying to build, your time can become the thing that you give up the most. So I have started in last year requiring myself to take I try to take the first Friday of every month off. And if I don't do that, I will never take time off. And I will also end up working on the weekends when I do so. So as much as I say making business development time sacred, if you're anything like me, your business, your venture is a means to an end to help you live your life. And if your life is not ever given the oxygen it needs to breathe and to thrive outside of what you're building, there's consequences for that. You'll burn out, you'll lose sight of your vision and purpose, and you won't be happy. So I've gotten tremendous benefit in the last quarter doing that myself. I recommend it highly.
I like that.
I like it. Yeah.
I think it comes down to eliminate the noise a lot of
Yeah.
times. I found that to be a struggle for me earlier in my career because everything is important, even though it's really not. I mean, it is all important, but where does it get prioritized is the question.
That's
And
right.
everything is a number one priority. Everything is. I mean, and that comes back to the adage of you're busy working in your business as opposed to on your business.
Yeah, your time becoming your most valuable asset. And if you distribute it equally as if everything is top priority, then nothing will get the time it needs to be successful. And then you'll be giving other time to stuff that is absolutely valueless.
I love it. Well, sign of a good interview that I have questions we didn't even get to. So, Johnathan, thank you for coming on. This was fantastic.
And absolutely my pleasure, Sean. Matt, thank you for having me here, and we'll see you all around.
Yes. Wow. Thank you for that. He's like closing us out without us even.
Right? What do you mean, dude?
Johnathan will close out all of our episodes moving forward. Like,
We're just going to record that clip and use it at the end from now on.
Yeah.
You have my permission. 50 cents every time.
Wow. Now it's a royalty involved. Jesus.
This is getting complicated.
Yeah.
And lawyers involved and contracts.
You've obviously not seen our budget. 50 cents will put us over.
That's going to break it.
Break the IT nation.
Really appreciate that. Thank you. We need that. We need all the free we can get.
Love it. Love it.
All right. So yeah. So thank you, Johnathan. Matt, any parting words? Any last words before we get off this?
No, fantastic. Like I said, we could go deep into this topic, and that's the sign of a great episode that we had to stop ourselves from going longer. So yeah, I think you did a great job providing value. I
would agree. I hope people that watch us pay attention to the simplicity of the conversation itself. Right. Yes, we all know it's difficult to switch the gears and to it's like going to the gym. If I don't get in the car and drive to the gym, if I have a treadmill here or a gym at my house, I won't use it. It's a mindset switch, right? And I think that it's important for people to know that they just have to turn that on and go. So yeah, I hope people pay attention to that and just go try it. Most of these men and women are very good people. They're fun to talk to. So why
Absolutely.
not actually put themselves involved in more conversations?
You're better at this than you give yourself credit for.
Agreed. You already have
Agreed.
a business.
Awesome.
Good words. All right. Well, that's all we have for today. Thank you, Johnathan, again. Matthew, always a pleasure looking at your dazzling face. Look forward to the next episode. Not sure when that'll come out, but it'll come out. And otherwise, see y'all later. Toodles.
I'm on a whole new level.